Welcome to Emotional Organization, the podcast where personal growth meets business strategy. I'm your host, Dr. Dinesh McDonnell, and if you're here, you've probably been looking for a new way to approach your life and leadership, one that's grounded in practical, actionable advice and a deeper understanding of your emotions. Now, I'm not your therapist, but what I am is someone with decades of experience in business, leadership, and navigating some pretty tough personal challenges. And through this podcast, I want to help you get your business brain and emotional self in sync so that you can lead yourself and others with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Welcome back to another episode of Emotional Organization. I am thrilled and honored to be welcoming my sister, Lola Shanks, who is a newly certified counselor and the founder of Beyond the Break, which is a discernment counseling company that's dedicated to guiding individuals through some pretty pivotal life decisions. Now, she comes with diverse entrepreneurial background that spans catering, daycare services, first aid training, and even some stuff that I only found out about moments ago, and I've known her my whole life. Lola brings with her a wealth of experience, and her unique blend of professional counseling and hands-on business venture experience really does give us some great insight into the mental challenges of building a business, how you can have some effective leadership, conflict resolution, and maintaining balance while really leading with integrity and kind of following your heart. Lola, I am thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
I am beyond excited to be here.
Can you start off by sharing your entrepreneurial journey and what kind of inspired you into all these different diverse fields that you've jumped into over the years?
Yeah, I'm by nature a very curious person. I love learning. I love finding out how the world works, how people work, and I have ideas. I'm creative and I love to contribute creative solutions to other people. And so from time to time, this leads to, hey, I actually am really interested in that and I want to make it into something. And my earliest foray into having my own business, which never really took off, but it was a start, was when I was 12 or 13 years old. And I decided I wanted to open a supplier company for people who were dancers, dance studios, that type of thing. And I called my business Razzmatazz. And at that time, of course, there was no computers. So I was looking in phone books and I was mailing people to get pricing lists for shoes and leotards and whatnot, and did a whole bunch of research and then never actually did it. I think we moved or something and this never took off. But then multiple times, it was always just where there was enough curiosity and enough excitement to want to take something to that level of owning it and bringing it to other people. Somebody's got to do this or somebody's got to see this. And it's been down different paths.
And so the excitement that you get, is that stimulated by the product or is it stimulated by the problem?
Always the problem for me.
Yeah. So even at an early age, really, you're seeing a hole in the market, you're seeing that need, and then taking those steps to try and figure out how you could actually change it. Okay. Right. And so I love the idea that you're sort of crossing all of these different disciplines and industries and sectors. So that's never been a barrier, which is unique to business builders. Usually people are focusing in an area of expertise and then trying different iterations of something that fits within that particular market. Do you know, or do you have an idea of what it is that makes you unique in that way where you're able to cross industry?
Well, something I've learned about myself through the years, because I used to work in corporate as well. I did about a 10-year stint in corporate and ended up in middle management, and of course had to do a whole bunch of personality tests. and figuring out who are you and how can we fit you into the organization. And I am always in a very small percentage where my logical thinking and decisiveness and decision making is very high ranking, and my innovation and creativity is equally high ranking. So the way that I tend to approach things is, wow, oh my gosh, hey, I've got this amazing, great idea. It could be like this. And I dream this vision of a full something. And then I will immediately pull back and go, but is it possible? Can it be done? Does it make sense to do it? And if the answers are yes, I want to do it.
Personality test wise, do you have any at the top of your head that you can eh, that you can think of, whether that's colors or
Yeah,
Myers-Briggs or?
yeah, both. Well, so yeah, I'm always in sort of the anomaly categories, and I wasn't prepared with my Myers-Briggs one, but I am. Gosh, I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
I'm gonna reach the little colors and see. I'm so curious now to see where you go.
On the colors test, so there's the standardized colors test, right? Which is a fairly short test. You can get online, you can do it. I'm almost equal across the 4 colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's a pretty normal result for me in a personality test.
Mm-hmm.
I did a more comprehensive colors type test. That really dove into, and it was like a long test. It gave a bigger result. It gave a lot more detailed layout, and it gave you like a color splash.
Oh, that's very cool.
It was really cool because it was like this sort of splatter on a disc, and it would show you where you sat on it, as far as extrovert versus introvert and innovative versus like just sort of a do it by rote and follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was the first time I'd seen a test result that wasn't sort of like really well balanced and centered. And that one really highlighted for me the logical innovation being neck and neck with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have no problem making hard decisions. I have no problem giving honest, compassionate feedback to people. I also have no problem coming up with wacky ideas so that, you can just throw a bunch of stuff out there and guaranteed there's going to be something really juicy in it.
Yeah,
but then,
that freedom to think through and just brainstorm. And,
yeah. But then take a look at what's out there and go, okay, well, that's never going to work. Like, that's just a ridiculous idea. But that one there, that's something, and that can go somewhere. And I just enjoy the exercise of using my brain that way.
Yeah. If you have that creative inclination, but you have that strategic mindset to back it up, it does give you a lot of flexibility to go into different pockets, and probably explains why you've been able to find some success in some of these other businesses.
With my daycare, I had been talking to people and knew that there were daycare providers out there that weren't really doing it because they loved being with children. They were doing it because they loved making money, and no shame in making money, but how great if you can make money doing something that you actually enjoy. And so the way that I ran my daycare was very much targeted towards parents who were looking for someone that was going to treat their child like family, that was going to, and I have a big family. And so, my kids would come home from school and there'd be these little daycare kids, and every one of my kids learned how to change diapers and, look after things and prepare food, and because it was a family, and that was sort of the feature of that. So the way I've approached absolutely everything is from that perspective of finding the itch with people, and how do we fill it? How do we soothe it?
It sounds like throughout your different endeavors that you've kept a balance though between what you want to get out of it and what you're going to be able to provide. So it sounds to me like you've sort of always had this mindset of, what's in it for my client, what problem am I solving, but also what's in it for me, and is this something that's really going to fuel me, or how does it fuel me? Are you conscious about that when you're making the choices, or is that something that kind of happens naturally?
Well, I think it happens naturally because I do want to do things that I'm excited about and I'm inspired by, but I don't want it to take over my life or make other parts of my life not satisfying. And so I want it all. I love, uh, Eckhart Tolle says, he talks about levels of acceptance and how we enjoy life and how you should sort of approach things. And I'll probably butcher it horribly. But ideally, we're going to move through life celebrating things and finding things that are opportunities for us to see as gifts and just inspiring joy for us and that we can fully embrace. And maybe we can't quite get there with the things that we're doing. So if we can find a way to embrace them as they are and be grateful for the experience and be happy for the good parts of the experience, then we can be content. Maybe not like joyful, but we could be content. And, I'm always assessing life this way. And then if I can't find that contentment, can I accept what's there, like without resentment? And if I can't do even acceptance without resentment, I'm in the wrong place.
Right. Yeah.
I'm doing the wrong thing. So, I'd love to go to the celebration joy state in what I'm doing, but the minute I can't even accept, it's over. I'm done.
Yeah, it's a hard line there. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're looking for something that kind of is like, at the very minimum, in the bad times, you're looking for something that's neutral, and then trying to
Bare minimum.
maximize. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So now, obviously, you've gone through, a ton of training to get your counseling certification. That's a couple years of training, some in-depth work that you've done mentally. So I'm curious how your mindset towards business has changed now that you're armed with this whole new skill set around mental health, compared to what some of your earlier pursuits would have looked like with that version of you. Do you feel like you've got a different perspective of things going into it?
Well, I think the perspective is always evolving, because I'm more experienced and smarter and wiser than I was, when I was 13,
Back in
20.
the razzmatazz days, I feel a little bit
Exactly.
that's like the when they bring out the Ryan Gosling and the
Right.
dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and in my 20s and my 30s and I got more behind me
Hmm.
to be able to see how things work and deal with them. But I also have a lot more um, calm about things. I don't have that same terrifying, oh my gosh, what if it doesn't work? And
Hmm.
because I have so much behind me to say, yeah, but I have everything that I need to pivot and do something different if I have to. So who cares? It's
Hmm.
worth a shot. And I'm going to be doing something. I am already doing something um, that I know people desperately need. And so my challenge is, can I make enough people aware that this is out there for them? And that's the business part, right? That's the getting it in front of people, advertising, um, talking to
Awareness.
people,
Yeah.
building awareness, education, all that stuff. But that's all the same for any business. You have to get it in front of right audience. You have to make it understandable. Like, oh, I understand what this is. I see why this is something I should want.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
people
all.
need to
All the thing.
identify.
Totally.
Yeah, people need to identify with what it is that you're offering and understanding not only what it is, but why they're a candidate for what you have.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a great lead in for you to tell us a little bit specifically about the work that you're doing in your practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have a really personal stake in what I'm doing because I am divorced. I've been divorced for a long time. It was really hard for me to end my marriage, to give up, to create two households that my kids had to exist within. And my ex certainly didn't make it easy for me. It was really challenging. And so the work that I'm doing a few different things, but it's all pivoting around relationships reaching a point where they need to either drastically change or they need to end.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few pieces to it. Sort of the first piece is discernment coaching. And so this is piggybacking onto a modality that was created by a guy named Bill Doherty in the States who does discernment therapy. Now, I see it more as coaching, and I'm modifying it a little bit. It's very solution focused. It's time limited. It's 1 to 5 sessions with a couple. And you're really deciding where your relationship is going. And it's 3 choices. You can stay exactly as you are, keep it the same, and just see what happens. You can go down the path of divorce, separation and divorce, or you can choose to double down and really commit, both of you, to couples counseling for a minimum of 6 months and give it your all with no excuses for 6 months. And so the coaching is unearthing what happened in this relationship. Can we come back from this? Was this a deal breaker? Is there still enough meat on the bone to make a good soup here?
The marriage soup.
Yep. And yeah, and we'll throw in some vegetables. We'll, make it better. But
Mm-hmm. Hearty, robust.
Is there enough to start with? Is there enough to make it real tasty? And do we want it? Or are we ready to say, you know what? And I really hate the idea that when 2 people decide that a marriage is over, that it's an absolute failure. I think quite often it's not a failure. Quite often it's just the end of a relationship that's run the course. And it had a lot of great things maybe and provided a lot to each individual. Likely they've done a lot of growing. Maybe they grew apart, but it doesn't mean they've failed. It means that they've just moved on. I mean, most of us have friendships that rarely last a lifetime because we grow beyond them. And so why is marriage so very different? We have to own it, whatever we've done.
Yeah.
So we bring that to the table, we explore it, we talk about deal breakers, we talk about what we're willing to do and being honest about what we're willing to do. And then it's a mixture of coaching the 2 together and then having a little bit of individual time and then coming back together in each session. And so I'm helping the couple frame up their position to the other at the end of each session. And it changes, it moves. But it's a really fascinating thing. And the statistics show that it doesn't significantly change the percentage of people who are getting divorced. What it does do is it catches the people who are able to, wanting to, and willing to work on their relationship and giving them a better platform to start their couples therapy from. So it's more effective more quickly.
Yeah.
And for the couples who do end up going down the path of divorce, and this is my passion, particularly when they have children, they're going down that path without seeing each other as the enemy.
Yeah, that's
And
huge.
it's massive because then they can move through the process of letting go of their relationship, but still seeing value in each other as a co-parent, as somebody who they've made children with. And I think like that's a game changer. That's a game changer for historical, for generational trauma, for recreating a future out of a past that could have been much worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
and that's what I was going to say is it impacts so many more people,
yeah,
and like you said, it is generational, right? Because you do pass down those hurts and those harms.
yeah.
So being able to have a pathway that you can, very thoughtfully and very deliberately go about having a better outcome for yourself. Like I said, even if it doesn't change the percentages,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the goal. It's to have better outcomes.
It is to have better outcomes, yeah. And then so the other part of the work that I'm doing is called closure therapy. And so this is about then working with individuals or couples if they do move to the other side where they want to go. And I don't do couples therapy, just to be totally clear. Closure therapy, though, is let's say you do decide to divorce, but you need to do some more work individually and or together to ensure that your co-parenting is going to be effective. Or maybe you own a business together that you don't want to dissolve just because you're divorcing. How are you going to hold that relationship and move forward effectively? And so it's working through grieving what was, what could have been, and the relationship, and letting go of any resentment and bitterness. Also working on changing your own behaviors that haven't served you and maybe you're ashamed of. I think a lot of people carry that shame about how they've shown up, and it's really hard to own it and to say out loud, even to yourself, oh my gosh, I have this pattern of behavior. I do this. It's really terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But we all have them. We all have
completely.
stuff like this. And so, like, let's call it out. Let's change it. Let's be the people we want to be for ourselves and for everyone else in our life. And so, those are the two sort of foundational pieces. And then, I'm building workshops, I'm building stuff like that. I'm also working on building and incorporating transformational breath work to help people release and process emotion because I think most people who've investigated any sort of therapy lately understand that somatics plays a huge role because your body holds your trauma, your body holds your pain. And so using breath work to help you release without having to necessarily torture yourself with the requirement of mentally understanding what you're feeling, but just peeling off some of the layers so you can get to it is super effective. So I want to be doing some breathwork groups for emotional processing for these people and incorporating all of this. And in the future, retreats.
I'm a huge fan, and I definitely promote mind body connection as part of the whole journey to emotional wellness. And it's something that I use. I've done some breath work with you before. I'm not vulnerable enough to bawl my eyes out in front of my sister, so I can only go so far. But I use my yoga and my stretching every single day as a way to use breath work. And when I find that there's this harmony that you get when you're moving with the flow of your breath, and things become very deep and very grounded and very centered and very clear and very healing to go through it. So I'm a huge proponent for that. I'm going to ask you another question that's going to sort of pivot a little bit, but can you give folks your website? Because I know that you have got a quiz out there for people who are looking at counseling services of this type, and I think it's cool.
Yeah. So if you go to beyondthebreak.ca, at the top of the page, there's a therapy match quiz. And so you would just go through the questions to identify where you are personally at in your relationship status and what you're looking for, whether it's individual, couples, group. And at the end of the quiz, there'll be a recommendation for which type of service you should maybe take a look at. So
That's fantastic. Okay, I'll be sure to include that link too in our show notes. So if anybody wants to check it out, that's a great thing to have in your tickle trunk. So okay, all of these things that you've described on these different services, I know that they're aimed for people that are going through divorce or contemplating divorce and dealing post-relationship. But a lot of the advice, a lot of the things that you're talking about seem like they really, really are applicable to individuals and to people that are just trying to figure out how to lead within their own life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It reminds me again of that, like, joy or acceptance, or are you just content? Like, where are you at?
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
you're not where you want to be at, what can we change so that you have what you want? This idea that I think most people have in some regard that they don't deserve in some way in their lives. I don't deserve happiness, or I don't deserve abundance, or I don't deserve to be loved, or I don't deserve a good job, or we've all got some hang up of that kind. There is so much in this world we actually all deserve to have all the stuff that we want. All the love, all the riches, all the people, all the support. We get it all. But yeah, it drives me absolutely mad that people aren't taking what's theirs in life. I'm super compassionate person. I'm not a person that steps on others. I would never take from someone so that I can have, but I don't have to because there's enough out there for everyone.
Yeah, that's a big thing, I think, is that idea that in order for me to succeed, somebody else has to give up,
Yeah,
right? It's
not
not
true.
a zero-sum game. Self-doubt is something that almost everybody struggles with. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned, it maybe coming from a sensation that they don't deserve something, they're not good enough. What can you give as far as tips go in I mean, this show is specifically geared towards people that are thinking of starting businesses and, looking at leadership and how to lead themselves and others better. When it comes to self-doubt, imposter syndrome, some of those really big kind of out of the gate challenges that people face, what are some things people can do to kind of keep that at bay?
Well, I think there's a couple things that come to mind right away. And the first one is providing evidence to yourself, like, what have I already done? What have I already accomplished that I could list right now? And what are my strengths? Because oftentimes, even if like what jumps into my head right away is, like, let's say a stay-at-home mom whose kids are maybe getting a little bit older and she's thinking, oh, I'd really love to get out there and do something, but man, I've got no experience. I have no skills. I'll never be able to do something because I've spent the last 10 years at home with kids. Yeah, you have. You've learned how to organize a household. You've learned how to prioritize and manage people. You've learned how to schedule. You've learned how to delegate. You've learned how to fix things. And like the list goes on and on and on and
Yeah,
on.
people management skills, once you start talking about this, I
Massive,
see all of those things. Yeah.
right?
But you
And so
discredit your work, right?
all the time people do, right? But those transferable skills, there is never, ever, ever a waste of education or experience because you always bring what you've done, what you've learned with you. And so I would encourage people, like, start thinking about what are those skills? What are those strengths? What are those things that you have experience with? And how could you apply them? And what have you already done? Because
Yeah.
like we're evidence needy creatures, right? We're looking for proof all the time. It's a lot easier to find proof of something negative than proof of something positive, so it takes more effort, but it's in there.
Yeah. It is, absolutely. I started this a little while ago, and it's my I am jar. And it was exactly for that reason, because I was like, I was really trying to figure out what skills and traits and characteristics that I had after leaving my corporate job. And I was kind of like feeling that sense of, am I good enough? What am I going to do now? All the rest of it. And so it was funny because I went through this the other day. This is the perfect one. I was providing evidence, and I was like, I am adaptable. I wrote it backwards because I wasn't sure what the camera was going to be able to do at the time. I was like kind of in there. But things that I have, I'm like, I'm caring, I'm perseverant, I'm intentional, I'm truthful. And, pulling these out, I'm sensory. Being able to go back and just look at them gives you this little bit of a boost. And so one of the things that I like to think of is compliments as gifts. And when somebody gives you a compliment, we are always asking for feedback, and we always want to know things about ourselves. If you start to be kind of tuned in to the compliments that people are giving you, they are these little gifts, and they are actually telling you the truths of what you are and what resonates about you with somebody. And so I say, collect those compliments, really pay attention to them, and file them away, because when you are feeling some self-doubt, they're a great thing to have to remind you just how awesome you are.
I love that. And I love how adaptable you were in writing adaptable backwards, just in case you would need it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. When it comes to business development, business building, because you've done a lot of building and getting things off the ground, which I think is where a lot of people struggle. Mm-hmm. And so you've obviously got something that's replicable in the way that you do stuff. What are some tips that you can give to people when they're just starting out and they're really trying to crystallize what they're going to do and how they're going to go from zero to off the ground?
To me, it always starts with an idea of what's missing, what's needed, is it relevant, and proving that. I guess it's market research, right? You need to prove that there's a need before you waste time, money, energy. So if there's not a real need, look at something else. First of all, don't waste your time, and then trust your intuition.
You've always trusted your intuition along the way.
Yeah, any real idea that I've had that I haven't been able to fully get off the ground. There have been a couple that, yeah, I proved to myself, oh, this isn't a thing. Nobody wants this.
Yeah, that was a me thing.
I'm out here all by myself with this one. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely there's been some of those. But the other ones, for me, it's been that I wasn't an expert in the right place to develop that business. And so I think it's pretty rare for one person to be everything in a business. So you need to be able to resource yourself in the ways that are necessary to get something off the ground. Oftentimes it's money, right? You need capital, and some businesses take more than others to launch, but you also need expertise. And so if you're not willing to go outside of yourself to get the right people in place, whether it's in partnership or just as a resource, you're not going to succeed. You really just can't do things by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just did a series around solopreneurship versus entrepreneurship and the mindset differences that it takes to do that. And that's one of the things that comes up is that willingness to sort of be a Jack or Jill of all trades and cover a lot of bases. But inevitably, even if you're doing most of the work by yourself, you're still going to be contracting out, whether that's legal advice or accounting or something like that.
Yeah. And I think also one important thing that I didn't always do, but I'd be more likely to do today is like take a course or, do something to learn how to fill in those gaps so that I can move forward on them. Like, don't let a great idea die just because you don't know how to get it out there. Mm-hmm. Learn how to get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I like actually laying out the trajectory of what the company is going to do so that you can take a look at things from the learning and development standpoint, because I think that people will get caught up because there's a skill that maybe they don't actually need until year 3, and they identify it at the outset that it's a skill that they don't have, and then they're like, oh, I can't. But to your point about learning and developing and growing, you can make those decisions whether that's a skill you want for yourself or if it's a skill that you're going to outsource, and not let it be something that actually is a barrier to a bigger goal.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
what are some of the things that you're doing right now? I know you've just finished some schooling, but
Mhm.
what do you want to learn? What's sparking your curiosity? What are you reading?
So I just finished reading Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. So this guy writes a similar style to someone like Malcolm Gladwell, who I also love. Um, and they give like statistical information and research, and but in a story format. And so you can learn a lot about human nature. Why are some people better at communicating than others? How do you become one of those people? Can you become one of those people? You know, so I love reading stuff like that. And I did just finish reading a Malcolm Gladwell book as well, just because he's one of my favorites. Statistics plus human nature rolled into one.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot.
So good. So,
It's
so
awesome.
good.
I
Hmm.
spend so much time reading academic things that it takes up the most of it. So I'm trying to do better. I'm actually sitting on a little stack of books right now
Hmm.
of reading material. So I think it's always curious to see what you're interested in your off time. I think can be a really big indication of where you should be spending your business time. Because if you've got a natural inclination to read a certain genre of
Hmm.
material, it's going to give you a leg up when it comes to your business competition.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. And I do read a lot of theory and a lot of human nature kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff because it fascinates me. Like how our brains work fascinates me. I love to be able to see myself in the stories in the pages and go, yeah, I know. I know what that's
Mm-hmm.
about.
Yeah.
Um, or to be able to understand other people better, right? That's a really cool thing to be
Mm-hmm.
able to relate to others more easily.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I felt like so alone and isolated most of my life, where I genuinely thought I was some sort of anomaly. Other people can't possibly feel the way I do or think the way that I do or have the same experience as me. I'm some sort of weirdo. I
Right.
have to be. And just, more and more and more proof that we are all pretty much the same.
Yeah, you see the same things. You see people struggling with the same things in
Yeah.
different ways that, self-acceptance, overcoming ego, bias, narrowed perspective, all of those things are all challenges that we all face, and it
But
comes up
that
in different ways.
And that also means that, people who are successful have common features. They have common traits. They have common behaviors. People who are entrepreneurial have common ways of looking at the world. And so we can all learn from that, how
Mm-hmm.
to be better, how to be more daring, how to look at things to know when is the right time to take a risk or what's the right way to take a risk,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. How do you think your own tolerance has changed right now for what you're willing to accept in your life as reality versus what you've got hard boundaries around?
The older I get, the more I realize most things that I'm going to go through aren't going to kill me. Whereas when I was younger, I thought everything was going to kill me. Everything was going to do me in. Oh my God, I can't do this. This is going to be the end of my life.
Yeah.
It just all felt so threatening and not doable. And at this point in my life, I feel so capable of taking whatever gets tossed my way
Mm-hmm.
that, that's kind of scary. Like,
To know that you've got that
yeah,
kind of power, yeah, it gives
yeah,
it lets you make decisions for yourself and without that fear, right? And fear holds us back.
Yeah.
Fear prevents
Mhm.
us from seeing opportunity and options and makes us feel
Yeah.
very pigeonholed in a
Yeah.
certain way. So yeah, without that, it's kind of limitless.
Yes, but there's also on the other side of that coin is this life experience and wisdom that balances it. So I'm more likely to take a risk to do something that I really want to do, but it's a measured risk at the same time because there's this wisdom backing it up. Like, yeah, there's risk to this. And no matter what, I'll be fine. And I have a pretty good idea how to make this work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's defining success for you right now?
Helping people is huge for me. So the more people I can educate on being able to manage their relationships more effectively, whether they're going to continue in them or not, I will feel successful if I can get that out there to people. And of course, making enough money to sustain lifestyle, which, it's getting harder and harder these days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things you have to be really honest with yourself about. You have to be able to really kind of claim what you want for yourself, because otherwise you're just going to go down the river of life rather than manning your own canoe and
Yeah,
steering where you want to go.
exactly. Yeah. And I don't want the end of that ride for me to be like, so what? No, I want it to be like a real exciting journey that has meaning, right? That
Right.
I'm leaving something in behind for
Yeah.
people.
And do you have a specific audience that you're leaving it for? I think you've got a bigger purpose here.
Yeah, I really, really want to change the way people handle their relationships, the way that they co-parent and the way that they exit relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If ending marriage and that's not going to change in the foreseeable future. We're not going to revert to, you know, olden times where divorce was a dirty word and nobody ever did it. No, people are going to keep doing this. So let's enter marriage with more intention. Let's exit marriage with more intention. Let's be kinder to each other. Let's make sure our children aren't paying for our resentment and anger that we couldn't fulfill our relationship dreams. It's not their fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Smarten up.
Yeah. We don't want to pass it along and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So if I can have some sort of impact on how people navigate that space, that would make me so happy. My kids suffered.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I handled my side of the road quite well. And I didn't have anybody to guide me. It would have been nice to have guidance. It would have been nice to have something that we could have both done.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would have had an impact. That would have been really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay. I've got 10 words that I want to give you. They're all business related, and I want you to give me the first word or phrase that comes to mind.
Okay.
Leadership,
Grace,
conflict,
calm,
balance,
love,
fear,
embrace it.
integrity,
Oh, own that.
burnout,
Yeah, it's going to happen.
decision making,
Oh, decision making fun.
self-doubt,
Yeah. Yeah. Self-doubt. There it is.
resilience,
Resilience. Oh, yes. Well, it's the elasticity in our soul, right?
success,
Yeah. Happiness. Just happiness is
being
success.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Yep. Whether it's little moments or whether it's
Doesn't
sustained.
matter.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just got to catch it. I
Mm-hmm.
agree. A lot of these principles that you talk about using in your counseling services seem like they would be techniques that would be really appropriate when you're trying to kind of work your relationship with yourself when you're trying to deal with business. Do you think they can be used, or how could we use them?
Yeah, absolutely. They can. Because even in couples work, the first relationship is with yourself. So it makes sense to look at, when you're looking at starting a business, when you're looking at moving into building something for yourself, you're going to run into issues. You're going to run into problems. You're going to run into fears and doubt. And so this relationship with yourself has to be so solid. You're carrying yourself through the business, right? Through the creation, through the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And so, relationship building with yourself is key for everybody and anybody. And so those same things of being really honest and transparent, building awareness, building sort of that conversation with yourself of calling yourself out on, oh gosh, I did that again. What is that about? So working with a coach or a therapist, you can really peel the layers back on stuff like that to discover where that's coming from, because we're always looking to fulfill deeper needs when we do things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that deeper need that I'm trying to satisfy when I do that really crazy thing? Okay, let's figure that out, and then let's solve it in a different way that's more constructive, effective, helpful, useful, so that you're out there kicking ass in your business. And you're not second guessing yourself. You're loving how you're showing up, and you're feeling confident. And these things, like, they snowball in a really good way of building really effective communication with yourself first, so that you're effectively communicating outwardly to everyone you're interacting with. You're really feeling confident. That's coming across. People love a confident business person. You just automatically trust somebody, right? Not cocky, confident. Very big difference, but huge effect on other people.
Yeah.
So building that quiet confidence in yourself. And it comes from knowing that you're capable, knowing that you've got this, knowing what you're going to do in the next second, that you're not going to just destroy everything by doing that crazy thing that you always do because you're afraid. It's not going to happen. So yes, absolutely 100% using tools, counseling, coaching tools, peeling back, building awareness, recognizing patterns, changing patterns, and then putting it out there so that you are the person that you want and need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to practice these things too, right? They don't come automatically, and they don't
No.
stay either. So there are things that we can lose over time if we're not consciously building them and maintaining them within ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite techniques that I practiced was in trying to figure out, like, who do I want to be and how do I want to show up. And it was just an exercise of, imagine that you are in a coffee shop, you're at a Starbucks, or you're wherever your favorite coffee place is, and you're having your coffee and you're sitting in the shop. And then you're thinking of the other people that are in the shop, and what are the other people saying or thinking about you? And so how would they speak about you in your perfect imagination? And I thought that that was just a really great and very accessible way for me to start to imagine, right from what's the type of clothing that I'm wearing? What is the shape of my shoulders and my frame? Am I slouching? Am I tall? Am I, mysteriously interesting, or am I, very animated, or what is it? And so seeing yourself in that or from a different perspective, and then actually writing down and identifying what are those qualities that you want to take for yourself and that you want to own for yourself. And even if you're not fully confident that you've got them right now, you can at least identify what you're aspiring towards. And then I think it's a lot easier to make these little micro decisions and micro changes, because you've got that mental model of the vision of yourself that you want to step into.
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that idea. That's a cool way to approach it too. One thing I really love working with people on is values. Because once you're really, really certain of what your values are, it becomes magically easy to make decisions.
Yes.
And we all only have, like, of core values, we only have like maybe 3 to 5 true core values, right? Maybe it's family, maybe it's adventure, maybe it's security, whatever it is to you. But if you really deeply understand what your core values are when it comes to decision making in business, you can look at any problem and assess if it supports your values. And, you decide for your risk tolerance for moving forward with things. I have a 5-legged stool of values. I have 5 core values. I need at least 3 legs for this thing to not fall over. So if I'm looking at business decisions and something only supports 2 of my core values, it's not going to support my business. It's a no.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. If you know where you want to go to, it becomes really easy to be able to see whether something is going to take you closer to that end game goal, or whether it's actually just distracting you, or whether it's going to take you away from where you're going.
Yeah. And you almost have to be harsh with it. Like, I love those 2 things, but it's only 2 out of the 5. I cannot do it. I'm sorry. That's a no.
And being able to make those decisions and being really comfortable. And I think the more that you do it, the more confident that you become, because it gives you results almost right away. As soon as you start to make those changes, you feel it. You feel that your direction has changed. And then it gives you that little something to put into your I am jar, because now you've got an example of how not only did you recognize what you wanted for yourself, but you took action to secure it. And that gives you that little boost of confidence. If you've done it before, you can do it again. So one little step.
For sure.
Yeah, that's great advice for people. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Emotional Organization. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below and show us some love by sharing this podcast with someone you know. I'll be back next week, and until then, keep those emotions working for you.